All right, Tucker, we are officially live. This is the fifth ever episode of Lineup Legends podcast. Is that correct?
Fifth ever.
All right, well, we're here. We're pumped. It's going to be a great week 7. There are some absolute big time matchups on the slate this week. How are you feeling entering week 7?
I'm feeling really good. I just got a nice data reset, so I'm sure I'll blow that all on fantasy football content in about a month, or in less than a month, probably a couple days.
Refreshing Yahoo to see if
Oh,
you guys
I will.
any
that
rushing
like
yards.
point two rushing yard. Yeah.
Yeah, I hate that.
It'll be happening shortly, but no, I'm feeling really excited. There are a lot of good games this week, and let's go ahead and get down to it, man.
Yeah, let's do it. So basically, for anyone who hasn't listened before, we're going to go matchup by matchup, talk about the biggest story in each matchup, say what we want to say, move on, and basically just talk about who you want to be playing, who we're expecting big games from, and at the end we'll overview each of our DFS lineups, which will be competing against each other this week.
All right.
All right, Tuck, let's go ahead and jump into our first game. Which or do you want to talk about those quick news first? I saw that you.
Oh yeah, sure. Just a couple news updates. The November 3rd trade deadline is approaching. There are a couple big names in the talks. So Matt Ryan, Julio Jones. That one's probably not as likely, but I have been seeing reports of it being a possibility. Apparently, there's a lot of cap that they would eat a ton of money if they ended up trading them. But there have been talks about it, so keep an eye on that. AJ Green is a major trade candidate. I think it could do some damage on another team for sure. And then Zach Ertz is another big name. That one I've heard is pretty likely actually. So get Goddard now.
I've been saying it. What's been your favorite trade rumor that you've heard so far? Everyone's got that one that they kind of want, that really want to happen. I have mine, but I want to hear yours first.
I think mine is AJ Green. And he's not done yet, and I would love to see him, stay healthy on another team and perform for another team. He's been with the Bengals 5 ever, right? So it'd be great to see him play for another team, maybe a better quarterback. I've heard a lot.
Where do you want to see him go?
Well, I've heard Julio to the Packers, but since Julio's probably not going to get traded, I'd love to see AJ Green to the Packers. I think it'd be awesome.
Yeah, last season when there were rumors that he was going to get traded, I really thought the Packers were the perfect spot. I still think that, so I'm definitely pushing for that one. That's like my homer pick, but the one that I really would love to see is Darnold to the Steelers. I've seen that, maybe not as much rumors as much as like those articles that are like 10 trades that make too much sense to not happen. That's one that is so dumb. It would be so dumb of the Jets to do that they might just do it. I don't think Darnold is the problem there. So I would love to see him in a capable organization, maybe taking over as a Steelers quarterback next year. I would love that. With those receivers, that would be the beginning of just another 5 to 10 years of success for the Steelers. So that's the one I want to see personally.
Yeah, no, I had a long conversation with someone yesterday over Darnold being either a decent quarterback on just a terrible team or him also being a bad quarterback on a terrible team.
Darnold is good. I'll die on that hill. Darnold is good.
And actually, you'd be surprised. That's the side I was on. I was like, yeah, I think Darnold could really do well somewhere else, but it's never going to happen with the Jets. So I'd love to see him traded as well. It'd be great.
It's the Gase effect, man. He just sucks the production out of any player that comes onto his roster.
I'm pretty sure that's on his resume. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Take us through this week's injuries.
All right. So the big ones, Mostert is likely going to IR. Keep an eye out for.
Which, by the way, fingers crossed because it hasn't happened yet. As a Mostert owner, I'm like, hey, maybe it's not going to happen. All right. Sorry.
No, you're good. So keep an eye on McKinnon. He's probably already rostered, but JaMychal Hasty, if he didn't go on waivers this week, he seems to be a pretty good pickup. And then we got Mixon hasn't practiced yet this week. That seems to be more on the cautious side. He did play. He did finish the game after he left with injury this past week. But keep an eye on that. If he doesn't play, Gio Bernard is definitely a must pick up for the week. If you are anywhere near everyone else in terms of just scrapping for running backs. Sanders likely out 2 weeks. So that's a Boston Scott starter too there if you need it. Ertz is out for 3 to 4 weeks. Goddard's not playing this next week, but starting the week after this week, you want to get him in your lineup because he's going to be great, I think.
I wonder when he plays his first game because I don't think they've officially ruled him out this week, but I know it's probably not going to happen because he hasn't even been activated to the active roster. I don't know how that works, but maybe they would do that on game day. I don't really know, but from what I'm hearing, it's a no for this week, like 99%. But do you know if he's expected back next week? Because with Ertz gone, man, he's going to be a top 5 play for me.
Yeah, so I don't think he's going to be back this week, just because you're right. As you said, he has not been activated from IR. But if they do it early in the week next week, I think they'll try to rush him back. I mean, they need him, right? They're down tons of pass catchers, and without Ertz, they're going to need a good blocker in there, and Goddard can get the job done, and they'll probably rush him back a little bit. I think he'll probably be close to 100% by that time. But
cool. Okay. All right. Well, anything else we have to go? Eckler may be out longer than expected. Okay.
Yeah, that one will just be another week or two, but hopefully you have Justin Jackson to ride on.
Speaking of which, Justin Jackson didn't practice on Wednesday, or he was limited in practice.
I saw that. Yeah, I'm guessing more of just a caution again.
Okay.
He's not necessarily used to the big workload, but I don't think they're going to take it away from him. I think they keep using him. He looked really good. So
I'm thirsty for running backs this week, so I went out and grabbed Joshua Kelly just like on the off chance that Justin Jackson doesn't play. Like I need something.
Jackson's had health concerns. It's very possible that he ends up sitting out a game or something like that. But I think they're going to try and use him as much as they can in the meantime.
Yep. Okay, well, let's go ahead and jump into our first game. We have Thursday Night Football, Giants at Eagles. Kick us off with what's the main couple things you're looking forward to in this game?
So a couple of things. Not a lot on the Giants side of the ball aside from Sterling Shepard probably returning. They're calling him a game time decision, but I think he should be back based on the fact that he's practicing yesterday, that kind of thing. So that's the thing to keep an eye on just because Sterling Shepard tends to soak up targets from Daniel Jones, and he might end up being a good flex play down the line, probably not this week. Otherwise, keep me away from everything Giants. I don't think I want them at all. There's gonna be too many pass catchers, and then their run game. Eagles has been like pretty good against the run. Not bad. No 100-yard rushing games, and Freeman's not getting receptions. So that's it's not something I really want to partake in this week if I can help it.
Yeah, I feel like this is going to be one of those ugly Thursday Night Football games that Thursday Night Football is just known for. The over-under is set at 43.5, which means this is just going to be a low-scoring game. I'm not sure you're excited to start anybody in this one. That being said, I agree. I think Darius Slayton, has upside any given week. But outside of Slayton, you're just not that excited about anyone in this game. So I agree. I think Fulgham will be soaking up targets. And Boston Scott, a great plug-and-play start if you're hungry at running back. And, I think we'll be seeing him as a popular bye-week replacement this week.
Yeah, I really, really like Fulgham this week, actually. And it's literally only because there's no one else to catch the ball there. I mean, Alshon not playing again, Goddard out, Jalen Reagor still out, and Ertz out, Sanders out. Between Ertz and Sanders, that's 12.5, averaging 12.5 targets per game between the two of them. They've got to get somewhere. Djax comes back this week, but I don't expect him to be, full go in his first game back in several weeks. So, I really like Fulgham this week. And I don't love Boston Scott just because I don't really think he's a great player, but he's a great DFS play. I mean it takes almost nothing to get in, so the upside's there for sure.
And I will say, worth noting on the Giants side, I forgot to mention this. The Eagles are giving up the 4th most fantasy points per game to tight ends. So, Evan Ingram, you can throw him in there. Like, I know tight ends thin. People who have Evan Ingram are never happy about the outcome. But again, if you're willing to get hurt again, you can throw him out there. In what should be a good tight end matchup in a kind of low scoring game. So he's going to be hit or miss. Evan Ingram, but
You're feeling like a risk taker, man.
Yeah, if you have him, maybe you don't have a better option. I think the matchup is good enough to where, tight ends thin, you can plug him in there.
All right.
Okay, Tuck, who are you taking in this game?
Who am I taking? I think I'm going to take the Eagles. Yeah, I think I'm going to take the Eagles. I just don't like what the Giants are doing at all. I don't know. I just don't think it's going to be a good one. Daniel Jones in prime time Thursday night. I don't see it.
Yeah, I'm with you. Taking the Eagles, no question about it. All right, let's go ahead and move on to the 1:00 games on Sunday, and let's kick it off with Lions at Falcons. This one could be an absolute barn burner with an over/under of 56.5. The Falcons are favored by 2, and personally, I like DeAndre Swift in this game. Especially as a DFS play. We'll talk about this later, but I like Swift here. I think he's a lot of upside as their receiving back. We saw him kind of pop off last week. I know he's still splitting those carries in that backfield share with Peterson, but I really like him in this matchup because I think the Lions could need to pass the ball a ton and rely on Swift to be, an important part of that high-scoring affair that's going to be this game against the Falcons' porous defense. So I like Swift. That's kind of the guy I have my eye on, just as one of those like diamonds in the rough here on the Lions offense. Mm-hmm. And of course, I also like Stafford as a streaming quarterback against, this very friendly Falcons secondary. What about you on the Lions side of the ball?
Yeah, I like Swift. I don't expect to see what he did last week necessarily. I do think he'll be pretty involved in the passing game, which is exciting, especially in your PPR format. But I like Golladay a lot. I think, and Stafford actually I think is a great play this week as well. That Falcons defense has just been a mess.
Yep, giving up the most fantasy points to quarterbacks per game, 29.9 fantasy points per game to quarterbacks. That's insane.
Yeah, feels pretty safe with Stafford. I don't see how he could go wrong, right?
He hasn't been doing too hot, but it feels like even Kirk Cousins started out terrible last game and came back and put up 26 points.
Still came back and had a pretty good week in terms of fantasy. But yeah, no, Swift, I think you can expect. I think people are going to be expecting RB2 numbers. I'd expect RB3 numbers. And hope for that big upside RB2 type situation, because I don't think he'll be automatic plug into the RB2 spot like some people think. But he is relatively cheap in DFS. Same price as Ronald Jones, which I thought was pretty interesting because I'd much rather start Ronald Jones over DeAndre Swift. What about you?
See, that's an interesting one because I'll take Swift there. Fournette practiced fully, so you never know with that Tampa Bay backfield. I know Swift is splitting time, but is Ronald Jones going to get the receptions? Probably not. If he does, he's only going to get a couple. He's not a skilled receiver coming out of the backfield, whereas catches are more valuable than rushes for running backs. I think that is Swift's role. I think he's cemented himself into that role. And the kicker here is the 56.5 point over-under. I think there's going to be a ton of scoring in this one. I like Swift to get one of those touchdowns.
Yeah, I am taking the under in this game, but I think I see the Falcons getting their first win here. What about you?
I see them getting their second win here.
Second win, my bad. Second win.
Yeah, I see them getting their second win too. I thought they looked good in their first game without Dan Quinn. I like it. I think they're gonna start maybe going on a little roll here because I think they've been underperforming for 2 seasons now. So I agree with you.
It's hard getting used to them winning. Yeah. All right. Moving on to the next game, we got Browns at the Bengals. It's their second time meeting, and the first one was a pretty good game for fantasy.
Yeah. Real quick on the Falcons side of the ball. Start everyone.
Totally
Start
forgot.
everyone.
Yeah, start everyone on the
You can
Falcons. That
start
goes without
everyone.
saying. That goes
Yeah,
without saying. Just start them.
yeah, absolutely. Okay, take us away.
Yeah, Browns and Bengals, their second time meeting. We got an over under of 50.5 points. So pretty good scoring game. I don't love a lot of the Browns side of the ball. I'll say that much. Kareem Hunt and maybe Hooper, because Hooper's kind of been starting to come out and do his thing and get some catches. And looking like a pretty good start at tight end, considering the tight end landscape right now. What do you think of the Browns this week?
Nate the Great, thanks for the question. We'll get there in 2 seconds once we finish the Brown side of the ball. So real quick on the Brown side, the guy who I really like this week is Austin Hooper. We'll get to it later. He's my DFS tight end play as one of those cheap guys who has a lot of upside. The Bengals are giving up the 9th most fantasy points to tight ends. The game has a decent over-under, could be sneakily high scoring. And Hooper's been really involved like the last 3 weeks in a row. So in a game where Baker might have to throw a little bit more than normal, I like Hooper to get it done and carry some upside at a cheap DFS price.
Yeah, agreed. Definitely.
Okay. So Nate the Great is asking Antonio Gibson or Boston Scott. Ooh, that's a good question. Tuck, where are you going with this one?
This week specifically, definitely, I think Boston Scott's the answer there. Antonio Gibson has been losing carries. He's been losing all the passing down work essentially to J.D. McKissick, who I really like in PPR actually. Tried to go out and snag him as much as I could everywhere this week.
Yeah.
But Boston Scott this week, definitely, I think, like we were saying earlier, I think Carson Wentz has been throwing the ball a ton. Sanders out, and then so many other pass catchers out. I think Boston Scott's also destined to get some targets this week, several catches, and he'll get all the workload running. I mean, he might lose a couple touches here and there to other guys just to give him a break, but I think they're going to ride Boston Scott for probably 2 weeks until Sanders gets back. There's no reason not to.
Yeah, I agree with you. I'm taking Boston Scott. That Washington backfield is just too muddied. I'm not. I love Gibson's talent, but with the pass catching work going to McKissick, I'm out. I like Boston Scott in a pass heavy role. So especially in PPR leagues, love Boston Scott. Thanks for the question, Nate the Great. All right, Tucker, let's get back to it. We're talking Browns, Bengals. Yeah, I like Austin Hooper on the Browns side of the ball. Not super excited about anyone else. I mean, you're starting Kareem Hunt. What about you? Anything else you're seeing on the Browns?
Nothing else on the Browns. I don't think I'd want to start Odell or Jarvis or anyone like that. They're just not consistent enough for me.
Yeah.
And I don't want to hope for that 3 touchdown week again from Odell. I just don't think it's going to happen anytime soon. So playing for that is foolish at this point. Like, just stick him on your bench, play someone with a little bit higher floor. It doesn't feel good, but it is what it is. Moving on to the Bengals side. The last time these two teams played, which was week 2, I believe, Joe Burrow threw 61 passes. So, Steven, knowing that, how do you feel about the receivers?
Love the receivers this week. Browns are giving up the 4th most fantasy points to wide receivers. And then again, in a game that could be sneakily high scoring, I love T. Higgins. I like Tyler Boyd. And I'm even okay with AJ Green. He had a decent week last week if you're desperate, AJ Green. But the main guy I really would love to start on the Bengals this week is T. Higgins. I think he's just blossoming into their clear-cut wide receiver 1. He has the skill set for it, and I think Burrow's going to be looking his way a ton this week. What about you?
Yeah, I think every single one of them is a decent flex play. I wouldn't feel horrible sticking him in there. I mean, AJ Green was just like thrown targets last week. I mean, so many, 11, I think. And if he keeps that up in this game, I think he can produce as well in a flex spot. I think all 3 are good for a flex position. Meanwhile, like we said, Mixon, it has not played or has not practiced this week. So Gio Bernard is someone to keep an eye on. I would go ahead and roster him if you haven't, just in case, because if Mixon does not go, I think Gio is a really, really good play, especially in DFS.
Yeah, I agree. Browns are middle of the pack against the run. So yeah, I'm fine with playing Well, I'm hopefully you're playing Mixon. I expect he plays this week, but if he's out, you can easily plug in Bernard and you'll be just fine there.
Yeah. It doesn't sound good to start Gio Bernard. You're not like that's a crazy good player, but every single time he comes in place of Mixon, he's done very well. So I think that's something you definitely play if you can.
Yep, absolutely. Okay, who are you taking in this game?
This game, I think I'm gonna go with the Bengals. Actually, they're just gonna go pass heavy. They're gonna score. I don't see it going any other way. They didn't really have AJ Green or the emergence of T Higgins yet in the last time they played, and the Browns had Nick Chubb, so I think it'll go the opposite direction this time.
Yeah, I'm with you here. I agree. I think the Bengals are going to win it, especially with Baker coming off of a bad game. I could just see him not performing well, and yeah, with the Browns not having that running game, that two-headed monster of Chubb and Hunt, I just don't think their offense looks the same. So I like the Bengals in this one.
Yeah, Hunt can't pick it all up for Chubb, which is, it's probably going to be that way. But he's still going to need a lot of carries. He's going to look good. So.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, talk to us about Steelers-Titans.
Steelers-Titans, we got an over/under 52 points. So another decent game in terms of scoring. I do think it's going to be a pretty high scoring game. So the big news in terms of the Steelers is that, or potential big news, I should say, Adoree Jackson returned from IR early this week, but I'm guessing he's not going to play this week. If he does and he's fully healthy, it's going to make a little bit more of a mess for their receivers. But honestly, in my opinion, tell me if you think I'm wrong. I would stay away from Steelers receivers this week. I think it's going to be a little muddy, especially with Diontae Johnson coming back, and you're going to risk playing the wrong guy. And I think it's going to be one, maybe two of their guys this week that actually gives you a decent game. And I think I'd be a little bit too scared to pick the wrong guy to the point where I might just start someone else with a decent floor.
I'm gonna half agree with you there. I think we know who the guys you don't want to start are. I think it's Juju and James Washington. When's the last time we saw Juju heavily involved in this offense? Even without Diontae Johnson, Juju's been an afterthought. So I think you want to start Diontae Johnson and Chase Claypool, mainly because this is such a good matchup. The Titans are giving up 28.7 fantasy points per game to wide receivers. That's the sixth most in the league. Tack onto that this pretty high over/under 52 points against the Titans defense that you just saw get decimated by the Texans offense last week. I think you should start Claypool and Diontae Johnson and expect solid production from them. Juju, I just think, is getting completely phased out of this offense, and James Washington has been completely swallowed up by Chase Claypool and his emergence. So I agree with you there. You can't start all these guys, but I think Claypool and Diontae Johnson are going to be the top two options going forward, and this is a great matchup for them.
I do agree with that. Yeah, if you're going to start any of them, Claypool, Diontae Johnson, definitely. I would sit Juju. Completely phased out. That's not somebody you want to start. And then James Washington, you just can't depend on him. I don't think even with a good week last week. But I would say if you're going to start just one, say if you had to decide between Diontae Johnson and Claypool, who are you taking?
Yeah, I'm taking Diontae Johnson, to be honest. We saw him get 24 targets in his first 2 weeks of the season before getting injured. I think he's the guy who they're running the high percentage routes with. We saw Brandon Cooks do pretty well last week, and I think Diontae Johnson could hit a lot of those underneath routes that Brandon Cooks is known for. Claypool, again, I still think is going to hit this week, but I think Diontae Johnson back fully healthy, like he almost could have played last week. I think you don't have to worry about his health. I like him to get heavily targeted, and then Claypool to get one or two of those deep catches, and then a few other grabs to round out a solid day. So personally, I'm starting Diontae, but it's really, really close. Honestly, it's maybe a format thing. Like if you're PPR, I'd prefer Diontae. Standard, I'd probably take Claypool.
Gotcha. Yeah. So in terms of the two, who I'm picking. I'm picking Claypool.
You're all in on Claypool.
I'm still in on Claypool, and he hasn't proven me wrong yet.
Yeah.
So the reason I'm picking Claypool though is because the Titans have been roasted by these deep threats. So the big games that receivers have had against them: Justin Jefferson with the Vikings, Stephon Diggs, Will Fuller. Keelan Cole, Jerry Jeudy. These guys are all very good deep threats, and those are the ones that have really, really done well against this team in terms of receivers. So I like Claypool to be that guy. I think he is that guy with 4.42 or something like that. He's a fast dude. So I think they'll throw it deep to him a lot, and I think he will catch it. So I expect him to have a really, really good game, if any of them.
I'm with you. So. I like Claypool this week too. So I respect your preference there. We'll just have to, we're pretty much on the same page here with those two guys being the ones you want to start.
That's right. Moving on to the Titans side of the ball. What are you saying, Steven?
Dude, I love A.J. Brown this week. Love him. Again, high-scoring game. And we've seen the Steelers be, rock-solid defense. They're tough on the quarterback, tough on the running back. But one of their weak spots is against the receiver. And we've seen A.J. Brown just totally ball out this season ever since coming back from injury in a game where I think the Titans will have to kind of break their run-first mold and throw the ball more like they've been doing with Tannehill this season. I like A.J. Brown to have a great game. I think he's underpriced in DFS for the upside he has in this matchup. So if you have him in season-long leagues, you're starting him, of course. I think he can put up solid wide receiver 2, wide receiver 1 numbers. And then in DFS, I love him as, one of those middle price guys who should be priced as a higher tier player. What do you think about that, by the way? Are you on board with A.J. Brown this week?
Yeah, I am. I think he's looked really good. I mean, the dude's an athlete. He's been performing. I mean, since he's been back, he's been performing, and Tannehill's just a fiend out there. I think you can start Tannehill. I think you start A.J. Brown. Derrick Henry, obviously. Hopefully, he has another monster game for you. Meanwhile, Johnny Smith is practicing. He had a limited practice on Wednesday, which means Anthony Firkser probably a no-go. If Johnny Smith, for whatever reason, doesn't play, I think Anthony Firkser is a great play.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, completely agree. I think whichever guy plays tight end for the Titans is going to be heavily involved. So I like the Titans receiving options in this game. So I'm all in on whatever tight end is out there and healthy.
So you like the receiving options? Does that include Adam Humphries? Would you play?
It does not. Absolutely not. So mainly talking about, it seems like they mainly involve the two guys, A.J. Brown and then whoever's at tight end. I'm not really big on Humphries. Maybe if you're desperate, I just think there's much better options out there. What about you?
I mean, 6.5 targets a game while he's played. He was out for COVID for a while, but I mean, I think you could throw him in as a flex if you're desperate, but otherwise probably not, I guess. I mean, he's worth rostering.
Yeah, I think he's got a decent floor, but if you don't get the touchdown, it's going to be he won't kill you. But I just think the upside, maybe there's a better option there out on waivers. But you could start Humphries this week in a good matchup.
There's definitely options out there that are a little easier on the eyes. I'll say that. It doesn't feel good to start Adam Humphries, but if you need it, I mean, seems to be consistent at this point.
Yeah, if you need to, not the worst play.
All right.
Who are you taking in this game, by the way? I'm taking the Steelers for sure.
I think I'm going to take the Titans, actually. Usually when Derrick Henry gets rolling, he doesn't stop, and he got rolling last week, and even against this really, really heavy pass rushing team, I think he can get it done.
I think Derrick Henry is going to have a tougher time this week, which is going to slow down the Titans offense, and I think Roethlisberger is actually going to have a really solid game with that receiving core fully healthy. There's nobody stopping that. And with the Titans already pretty poor at stopping the wide receiver position, I think Roethlisberger and that entire receiving core, namely Johnson and Claypool, are just going to have monster games. I definitely
understand that. Definitely understand that, yeah.
You can't cover all of them.
That's fair. I believe in the Titans, I think they just look really good. So we'll see.
Yeah. This will be a fun one to watch. I like this.
I agree.
I like this matchup for sure.
Probably my favorite 1:00 game, I think. Yeah. I'm excited for that one. Very excited for that one.
All right. Panthers Saints over under 51. Saints favored by 7.5. What are you seeing on the Panthers side of the ball here? Do you like Bridgewater? Do you like the receivers? What are you looking for in your lineup this week?
Honestly, I don't love any Panthers this week outside of probably Mike Davis. You just have to start him because he's been so productive. Robinson and Moore. I mean, you still start them, but I don't see them as huge upside plays or anything. They've got Janoris Jenkins returning on defense. The Saints do, paired with Marshawn Lattimore. I think they had a bye, right? So they're going to get things cleaned up on defense. They haven't looked great, but I think this week they're going to come out looking a little more put together with their top cornerback, and I think they're going to be a little bit more shut down of a defense. I still like Davis, Robinson, Moore to produce. I just don't expect them to be huge upside guys.
Yeah, I think I agree with you there. This game has decent over under, so it could be kind of high scoring with the Panthers playing a lot of catch up, in my opinion. So I think those both Moore and Robbie Anderson.
Why was I saying Robinson? I was like, that doesn't sound right.
I was like,
Robbie Anderson. No, he's Robinson now. He's Robinson.
Hey, we're just talking about the trade deadline. Looks like Allen Robinson's a Panther now.
Dude, Robinson, look at him. No, he's Robinson. It makes sense. You can combine them. That's fine.
I like both. I like both Moore and Anderson this week, just because I think the Panthers are going to be playing a decent amount of catch up in this game. Going to have to throw the ball, and the Saints defense has been middle of the pack against wide receivers. So I think both of them are a good play. And Curtis Samuel is limited in practice, so I feel like he's going to suit up for this one. But if he doesn't play, I really like them, just because we saw Moore especially get peppered with more targets after Samuel was out of this last game. So, I think you can start both of those guys. Not super thrilled about them in DFS, but in season-long leagues, definitely don't bench them.
Right. And then on the Saints side of the ball, Alvin Kamara should be awesome. Super excited for him to go against this just bad Panthers run defense. So he should be absolutely perfect. And then Michael Thomas returns, which is exciting.
Dude, apparently not. Apparently Michael Thomas has like another injury now. Did you see that?
Oh my gosh, I did not. That's recent, huh?
Yeah, I'll double check this right now, but I read on Twitter that Michael Thomas is dealing with a hamstring injury now.
Wow. If he doesn't come back, that's a big deal for the Saints.
He's now listed with a hamstring injury along with his ankle. So he was limited in practice, but maybe this is just like one of those fine. He's fine. But between that and the discipline, which Sean Payton says is over, who knows if he'll play? I mean, I would expect him to play. I think maybe we should talk as if he's going to play, but dang, another injury this late. I don't know. Maybe he doesn't play, which is just so frustrating for Thomas owners at this point.
Yeah. Honestly, I think you want to. It's hard to even trade him at this point, but you can only sit there and kind of wish you did early on, because it's not looking great for Thomas right now. I mean, he hasn't played all season. He's continually banged up or disciplined. I mean, he needs to get it together. If he does play, you obviously plug him in your lineup and hope he can come off this and do well. But I think maybe if he has a big game and still seems a little bit hampered, you might just dish him for something good, dish him for two good running backs. So it doesn't seem like you can trust him very much right now. So
yeah, and I mean, even if he does play, the Panthers have been kind of a tough matchup on wide receivers. They're giving up the second least points to wide receivers per game. So definitely worth noting. I mean, obviously if Thomas plays, you're starting him. You've been waiting this long, put him in your lineup. But I mean, the Panthers have been surprisingly tough on receivers. So I hate to say temper expectations, but that's exactly what you got to do there. But Alvin Kamara should eat in this one, especially if the Saints go up early. They're going to be chewing clock with him. So I love Kamara this week.
Yeah, definitely Kamara I'm all in on him. Expensive in DFS, but you're going to get what you pay for. So,
yep.
All right, who you got in this one, Steven?
Taking the Saints for sure, but I think the Panthers may get closer than most would expect. I think the Panthers to me have looked pretty solid this year, and I think people are sleeping a little bit on them. I think once McCaffrey comes back, I think they're going to be going a little run. So what about you? Are you taking the Saints in this? Are you siding with Vegas?
Definitely taking the Saints. Yeah, okay. It's hard not to. I think they probably beat them by more than 7.5. There's the odds right there. But it's I think they're going to crush the Panthers. I really do.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll see about that one. Hopefully, my boy DJ Moore can have a few less drops this game. We'll see. But
We'll
love
see.
that he cemented himself as the wide receiver one on that team last week. All right, let's move on to a very exciting game. The Jets take on the Bills over under of 45.5. Bleh. And the Bills are favored by a whopping 13.5. Oh, what are you expecting in this absolute drudger of a game? Is that a word?
Yeah, we're gonna make it a
game.
word. It's a drudger, dude. Whatever that is, it is that. I'm not excited. I do think Allen has a bounce back game, and you play Diggs, you play Crowder on the other side of the ball. But other than that, I don't want a part of the run game with the Bills. Really, I mean, I guess you can do it in this game, but moving forward, I'm not that interested. But Singletary has a good chance for a bounce back here as well. Zach Moss is not a bad play per se. And I think they'll get him involved. I mean, they're going to be up from the get go, so they're going to be running and just going to wasting clock. I mean, the Jets are terrible, and they will lose this game. And I'll probably take the under, which is not saying much because it's already such a low over under. But I think it's going to be basically just like last week, where the opposing team scores 20, 24 points, and the Jets score almost nothing, and the team just runs the clock out. So
I have this daydream in my head that Zach Moss just gets unleashed in this game. Like, I just see it. I can see it now. Like, that's so Raven style. Like, the Bills get a big lead in the first half, and then they're like, let's get the rookie involved. He's back from injury. Look, he's got 1 week under his belt against the Chiefs, 5 carries, 10 yards, or whatever. But he had 5 carries to Singletary's 10. That doesn't sound that significant, but that was his first game back. If they build a big lead here, I think they probably want to get a spark going on this run game. They're like, let's see what Zach Moss can do. And against this Jets terrible run defense, I mean, inconsistent, but overall pretty bad, giving up the 7th most fantasy points to running backs. I think if the Bills build a huge lead, which we and Vegas expect them to do, I think they could just turn this over to Zach Moss to run out the clock. So I have Zach Moss on a couple benches right now, deciding whether I'm desperate enough to plug him in to my lineups. Oh man, I think he could be a sneaky good play this week. Like, maybe that's just me daydreaming, hoping to create something that isn't there. But man, I mean, it's so clear, right? Like, the Bills are going to go up huge in the first quarter of this one. Like, I have to think Zach Moss is going to get something going on the ground and maybe something in the end zone too.
Yeah, I think they'll start to give a lot of carries to both, and I agree. I think Zach Moss will kind of show out, and they'll keep giving it to Zach Moss. They'll go, okay, we'll ride this and see how this goes. And I think he'll do really well, and this will probably be closer to a breakout game for him. That being said, I would not be going out there to start him just because you can't bank on that. But he should be on benches everywhere. And hopefully this is the game where he really takes that job from Singletary, who's been doing nothing. He's been bad on the ground, quite frankly.
Yeah.
So.
Like, Singletary had an option to kind of lock up that backfield while Moss was out. Mm-hmm. And did he do anything special to say, like, all right, this is my role? Like, I don't think so.
No, you're right. Clearly by choice, he decided no.
Yeah, I mean, he literally I think he could have run away with that starting running back job, and I think what he proved is this is at best a timeshare with Zach Moss, and I still think people were drafting him with the potential for Moss to take over this backfield. I think that's still an option. I think that's still in the realm of possibilities. So even if you aren't starting him this week, make sure he's on your bench.
Yep, could definitely happen this week. Meanwhile, again, just Crowder on the Jets side of the ball. Who you got in this one? Don't even answer that. We know who you've got. The Bills are winning this game.
The Jets. I'm just kidding.
Oh my gosh!
I'm rolling with Buffalo here. Just to clarify.
It's LaMichael P. Ryan's breakout game.
He's going to break out for 5 carries for 22 yards, and people are going to be scrambling for him. That's elite usage in the Jets backfield. So
I'm over it, man. I'm over it.
All right, let's go ahead and move on to the Dallas Cowboys at the Washington football team. Over under 46 points. This is a new Cowboys team under Andy Dalton. one that is not nearly as exciting. That being said, you could probably start all of them in this game. What do you think?
That's how I feel. Yeah, outside of probably Gallup and maybe Dalton Schultz, I think Andy Dalton's a fine play. I really do. I mean, he did not have a good game last week and still did, not terrible for fantasy. I think his first game in the offense, and I think he's getting a lot of flack for this. But I don't think I think Andy Dalton's going to be okay. He had a bad game last week, but it was his first game in the offense. His line looked atrocious, so I think they know what they need to fix. It really wasn't even Andy Dalton's fault. He was getting incredibly pressured. Listen, he was getting pressured so hard in the pocket every single play.
Which league do you have Andy Dalton in?
What?
Which league do you have Andy Dalton in to where you need this to be true?
That's not the point. That's not the point. No,
okay, I respect it.
I think he'll be very much okay for your receivers. The receivers on that team are very good. I think Andy Dalton. I think they know what the problem was, and a lot of people are saying it's Andy Dalton, which I just don't think it was Andy Dalton. I think it was the line. I mean, the dude's not. He's not a scrambler. Okay, they need to be able to give him more protection, and they gave him none. But against a team like this, their front seven's pretty good. But I think Andy Dalton will get the job done for you this week. I think he's a fine play. Oh my gosh, stop!
I'm half expecting you to pull out a Dalton jersey under your sweater.
I'm all in, baby.
Oh man,
I'm still in on Dalton. Listen. I know he's not Dak Prescott. You can't expect him to be Dak Prescott, and I think a lot of people did expect him to be that perfect little, best backup in the league, as everyone is saying, right? But I think he'll be good moving forward. I think people got a little too hype on him for his first game back, first game in. But Amari Cooper, I think, is a play. I think Zeke's a play. I think CeeDee Lamb's a good play as well. But Gallup, probably not. I don't think I want to play him yet. But yeah, that's how I feel about the Cowboys.
Here's my response to your little Andy Dalton rant. There are 2 Daltons you can start on the Cowboys this week. Washington's giving up the 9th most fantasy points to quarterbacks, so I'm fine playing Dalton if you're that desperate. I mean, again, it's a good matchup. Dalton's going to be better than what we saw last week. I agree with you. And at tight end, Washington's giving up the 5th most fantasy points to tight ends. Dalton Schultz wasn't phased out of the offense with Andy Dalton in there. He didn't get in the end zone, but he had a decent game, and for tight end, that's really all you can ask for these days. So, and considering that last week has to be close to the offense's floor, right? I mean, we've seen the potential that these receivers have with even competent quarterback play. So I'm going to go with you can start Dalton Schultz, you can start Andy Dalton, you can start Amari Cooper, and you can start CeeDee Lamb. And you cannot start Michael Gallup. Don't do that. So
don't do that unless you're going a really, really big DFS dart throw, because I could see him catching a touchdown, but that's it,
Yeah. I think Dalton could get Dalton Schultz. Gosh, these Daltons. Dalton Schultz could be looking at maybe 4 or 5 catch, 55, 65-yard game with maybe a touchdown, which is great at tight end. So I think I agree with you. Bounce back game against Washington. Good matchup for quarterbacks and tight ends. So I'm fine with starting my Cowboys this week.
Yeah. On the other side of the ball, we got Terry. Obviously, you're starting Terry McLaurin. He's been great. I think you can start J.D. McKissic if you're running back desperate. He'll get those receptions. Well, in PPR, let's be very clear, in PPR. But he's been getting those receptions. He looks good there. I think Antonio Gibson only if you're desperate. He's losing a lot of carries to McKissic. I mean, he had 9 carries last week to McKissic's 8. And McKissic's getting all that passing down work. So I think Antonio Gibson's only if you're real desperate. I think you need to bench him for a little while and see how this plays out.
Yeah, I agree. Those catches out of the backfield are super valuable, so you hate to see him losing that. Right. Also, I have to bring it up.
I know you're going to. Oh my gosh.
Not the worst. You are to Andy Dalton as I am to Logan Thomas. Not the worst tight end streamer against a Cowboys defense giving up the 10th most fantasy points to tight ends. So they're a bottom 10 tight end defending team. And Logan Thomas got in the end zone last week. Had 4 catches for 30-something yards.
How many targets did he get?
I think he had 4 targets. So he caught all of his
targets.
targets.
Dude, I think Andy Dalton had 4 targets last week, okay? You cannot play Logan Thomas with confidence. Do not listen to Steven. This is a bad take.
Apparently he's questionable, actually. I'll see if he got injured before we give some false information. A neck issue. So we'll see if he plays. But, 4 targets last week, 3 catches, 42 yards, and a touchdown. He has all the peripherals. We've talked about it earlier on the show. Eventually, he's going to have decent games like this, and I think this could be one of them. I'm no longer saying he's the next elite tight end, which I'll admit I was saying after, week 2 of this year. But I am saying that in this matchup, he can be trusted to get 4 catches for 40 to 60 yards and maybe a touchdown, which is streamer material. So don't go getting married to Logan Thomas. You don't need to bring him home to mom, but you can start him for a week in your tight end spot if you're desperate. Maybe you've got Mike Gesicki on by. Maybe you're waiting for Dallas Goedert. Logan Thomas is fine this week, assuming he's not out with his neck injury. So I like Logan Thomas. I'm taking it down a notch. I'm taking it down from next big tight end breakout, but I think he's going to be a decent start this week.
Logan Thomas or Jimmy Graham against the Rams?
Jimmy Graham. I had to make this exact decision this week.
All right, moving on.
Okay, let's just move on from that. Yeah. Okay.
Cowboys so football team. Who are you taking?
Actually, I know you're riding the Dalton train all the way home. You might as well buy an MVP lotto ticket right now on Andy Dalton if this is
the spread is 0. Excuse me? They're like, ooh, Dalton had a bad game. They're going to be a horrible team now. No, they're going to win the game. It's the football team. I mean, come on.
It's the football team. All right, I'm gonna buy into last week just being the worst we can see from the Cowboys. Like they can only get better, really.
Exactly. I mean, even Zeke had 2 fumbles. Like it was a bad game for the Cowboys.
I'll take the Cowboys in this one.
Thank you. All right, go Dalton.
All right, moving on to the game. Go Dalton Schultz. Moving on to the game I'm most excited about oh my gosh, this game has me so excited. Packers, Texans, over under 56.5. My Packers are favored by 3.5. Start Rodgers, start Devontae Adams, start Aaron Jones. Forget it, start Robert Tonyan. And if you're desperate, start Jamal Williams in the flex because there are going to be touchdowns for everybody in this game. Everyone's going to eat on this Packers offense, and I mean that. I think this one's going to be super high scoring. I think the Packers offense is going to bounce back after a tough showing against the Buccaneers defense last week. They're playing the Texans defense, giving up the most fantasy points to running backs, the 8th most fantasy points to wide receivers. And this game is just a smash spot for Aaron Jones, Devontae Adams, and anyone else who's wearing green and yellow. What do you think about that, Tucker?
I mean, I agree. I do. I think last week was a terrible game for Rodgers. I think he'll bounce back in a big way. I'm sure he was frustrated last week, and usually when he's frustrated, he comes out the next game and just goes off on someone. I really like Rodgers, Adams, Jones. I like Tonyan, as long as he's healthy. Jamal Williams is you got to be desperate, but if you're really desperate, I don't think he's a terrible play for like an upside look at a touchdown in the flex if you really, really need to. I know Steven's pretty desperate, so I know he's doing it. And
I am. It's mainly I'm just trying to talk myself into it. Like I'm for sure desperate. I'm starting Aaron Jones because I wish I was starting Aaron Jones. I'm playing against Aaron Jones, and I'm gonna start Jamal Williams because the snap. I mean, Jamal Williams is getting a ton of snaps. I don't know if you know that, but he's playing like he's getting like I think 40% roughly of running back snaps, which is a lot. Like, oh my gosh, just imagine if they unleashed Aaron Jones at like 80+%. But no, Jamal Williams is gonna have opportunities, and I feel like this could be one of those games where Jamal Williams gets like 7 to 9 carries, and then like a few catches, and then that maybe gets him in the end zone. Which, I mean, as a flyer flex running back, like I like that. I'll take it. I think he's got a lot more upside than maybe a Zach Moss, like we just talked about earlier. Just because, Zach Moss might run out the clock, but I think they were going to be relying on Jamal Williams in passing situations in what could be a pass-heavy game where Aaron Jones will be rotating with Williams per usual. So I don't hate Jamal Williams. I think you should start all your Packers except for MVS. And
Yeah.
call it at that. What do you think?
Yeah, that's fair. I think it's going to be especially fun to play Jamal Williams against the guy with Aaron Jones if you're desperate, just because you can. I mean, every time he vultures a touchdown, you can be like, eat it. But I mean, I wouldn't be starting Jamal Williams, but the rest of them, yeah, 100%. Then on the Texans side of the ball, kind of similar. You can start a lot of these guys: Watson, Fuller, Cooks. I think they're all good starts against the Packers. I think it is going to be a shootout. I think this game is going to be a lot of throws, and probably some running by the Packers. But how do you feel about Darren Fells if he's the guy there?
Love Darren Fells. If Jordan Akins is out this week, which is up in the air, I think he was almost going to play last week. So my guess is Jordan Akins does play this week, but he's questionable right now. I love Darren Fells if Jordan Akins sits this one out. He's been on fire with Jordan Akins out. And I think you can plug him in and expect tight end 1 numbers if Akins is out, because in this matchup, you want any pass catcher you can get into your lineup, and Fells would be an easy start for me if Akins is out. What do you think?
Yeah, I think I agree. This game's going to be a shootout. I could see Fells getting a touchdown, several targets, and that's good enough for me at tight end. So,
yep, agreed. Okay, yeah, I think you start everyone on this Texans offense. David Johnson even is a great play this week. I mean,
Yep.
Packers giving up a ton of points to running backs, giving up the second most, 28 fantasy points a game. So I love it. And we saw Duke Johnson flop last week. Because of that, I'm not super confident in him this week. But yeah, I'm not even going to say if you're desperate. Like, I think last week was his chance to get more touches, and it just wasn't there.
Definitely over Duke Johnson. He upset me. It's okay, but I was really desperate last week. Went with Duke Johnson because I had word that he was going to get more touches. He did not.
Coach speak at its worst. Yeah, I'm going with my hometown Packers in this one. What about you?
Yeah, I think I'm going to go with Packers as well. They're just going to run the ball a lot, and they're going to do well with it. So.
Awesome. Okay, go Pack. Let's move on to Seahawks Cardinals. Another big game. Wow, do I love Kyler Murray this week? I mean, it's the perfect marriage. You have the Seahawks giving up the second most fantasy points to quarterbacks. Kyler on an absolute tear. Game with a huge over-under. It's going to be an absolute shootout. Kyler's going to go off. DeAndre Hopkins is going to go off. I don't even mind Kenyon Drake this week. I like everyone in this game pretty much. Like, I do. Cardinals side of the ball, I'm starting Murray in season long, of course, and then he's my DFS play, which we'll get to later at quarterback. So what do you think about the Cardinals offense? Are you yours too?
Yeah, Kyler Murray's also my play, so maybe we have the same lineup. Who knows?
Yeah, probably.
It was originally Josh Allen, and then I was like, no, actually, Kyler Murray against the Seahawks, that's something I like. He's running the ball a ton. He'll probably throw a lot in this one because why wouldn't you against the Seahawks defense? And I think they're just going to – I mean, this is going to be an incredible game, really, really high-scoring game. I expect Hopkins to do well, Murray, even Christian Kirk. I think he's flex-worthy for sure.
He's in my DFS lineup. Is he in yours?
He's not in mine. I didn't get it for DFS. But I mean, I said this earlier in the week where last week I said Christian Kirk, keep an eye on him. He's getting a lot of targets, and he only got a couple targets in this one. But Kyler Murray didn't, or last week, but Kyler Murray didn't throw the ball that much last week. He will this week, and you can expect Christian Kirk to get some of those targets. So yeah, I even like Kenyon Drake, like you said. And then on the other side of the ball, start your Seahawks, start the main guys, Wilson, Metcalf, Lockett, and Chris Carson. Yeah.
Yep, completely agree. I'm just excited to start anybody and everybody in this game, and I'm gonna take. Dang, I'm gonna take the Cardinals in this one. I just feel it. What do you think?
Dude, yeah, follow your gut. I'm gonna take the Seahawks. The Seahawks, they win these games. These close games. They get scored on. They get scored on, but Russell Wilson clutches up every time, and they somehow win. So I'm gonna go with the Seahawks.
Yeah, I think just given how close to the Vikings came to winning last week, I think the Cardinals can put up a better fight than the Vikings did. So the Cardinals are red hot right now. I'm taking the Cardinals in this one. A little upset pick.
I like it.
All right, let's talk Chiefs Broncos over under 48 and a snooze. Chiefs by 9.5. I mean, I think you can start anyone on the Chiefs side of the ball except Nicole Hardman. He disappointed last week. But yeah, I think the Chiefs are going to put up just an early lead here. Hopefully get your fantasy players a few touchdowns, and then maybe we'll see a lot of Edwards-Helaire and Le'Veon Bell.
Yeah, I expect a lot more Edwards-Helaire. Bell's first game with the Chiefs, I don't expect him to be incredibly heavily involved. I don't think they're gonna make sure he gets the ball or anything like that. They're just gonna do their thing as usual.
Mm-hmm.
And if he gets the ball a couple times, so be it. But I think Clyde's a better play. I don't think I'd be playing Bell yet. Probably wait a week just to see what his role really is, especially after Clyde's big game last week. I think they made it clear that they still want Clyde to be their guy. So I think give Bell a week. I wouldn't be playing him yet unless you really need to. But everyone else minus Mecole, yeah.
Yeah, I think the reason I think they're going to involve Bell just in a game that they should win pretty handily. Like I think they're going to try and get Bell as much experience as they can. But worth noting is Broncos have given up the fewest fantasy points to running backs on a per game basis this season. So they're pretty tough against the running back position. I mean, I think the Chiefs are just built differently to where you have to respect the pass so much that those running lanes are just going to be wide open for Edwards-Helaire and potentially Le'Veon Bell. So I think you can still start CEH, of course. I agree with you. Maybe wait and see on Bell, but people might be too desperate for that right now, which, I understand. Starting Jamal Williams.
That's fair. I get it. Yeah.
So, I think you can start all your Chiefs. And on the Broncos side of the ball, hoping we get Noah Fant back this week. I know coach said he had a chance to suit up. I lean towards him playing. What do you think, Tuck?
Yeah, I think same. I think he'll probably play. How will he be at 100%? I don't know. But I do think he'll at the very least play. And in the tight end spot, that's good enough this year. So you play Noah Fant,
Yeah, so, I'm with you. Start Noah Fant if he plays. And, you can get away with Melvin Gordon.
If Melvin Gordon plays, sure. If he doesn't, I think Lindsey is a fine start as well. And probably a flex if you can, but I assume most people probably can't just afford to put him in the flex. So he's a fine back end RB3, I would say. I don't.
If Gordon doesn't play, If Gordon doesn't play, I would say Philip Lindsay to me has an RB2 floor with RB1 upside.
Wow, interesting. Okay. I think the Chiefs' defense is better than people think.
I mean, given that the Chiefs have been so against their middle of the pack against running back, what I'm seeing here is Philip Lindsay being such a good pass catcher. Like if Melvin Gordon's out and he's getting all those catches out of the backfield in a game where the Broncos are playing catch up, oh my gosh, I would happily start him as an RB2 at the very least. But I think Gordon plays this one. I mean, I don't really know what the situation is with the league stepping in regarding a suspension. I don't know.
It'll probably take some time. I'm betting Gordon plays.
Yeah. So I'm guessing Gordon plays, so we don't even need to have the discussion. You can start Gordon.
If it's Gordon, I like Gordon a lot more than Lindsay for sure.
Yeah, I think you can start Gordon here, and Gordon himself is a good pass catcher. So, I like Gordon this week.
What about Tim Patrick? How do you feel about Tim Patrick this week, hypothetically?
I mean, honestly, I view him somewhat similar to how I viewed Adam Humphries. Like, I think there are better options out there, but he's not the worst play in a game where the Broncos are going to have to play catch up. And Tim Patrick has looked pretty good. So to me, Tim Patrick is a start if you need a start at receiver. You just got to hope that he gets enough targets with Fant potentially back to make it worth your while. But again, playing catch up, I wouldn't mind starting a Broncos pass catcher.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree completely.
What about you?
Yeah, I agree completely. I think, I mean, even so, the Chiefs are pretty good against those wide receivers, but no, I agree. I think that's a very accurate analysis, Steven.
Okay. That's what they pay me the big bucks for. All right, let's move on. Oh, I mean, you're taking the Broncos, right?
Yes, definitely. No, I'm not. I'm taking my Chiefs. I think we pull it off for sure, pretty handily. Hopefully, dear God, hopefully, don't stress me out, Chiefs.
like the Raiders game a couple weeks ago.
Don't talk about it.
Yeah, I'm taking the Chiefs too, of course. All right, let's move on to the 49ers Patriots, a game that could be sneakily gross to watch. An over under 45. Pats favored by 2.5. Neither of these offenses have really been clicking as they would like to be clicking. So I think the fantasy options are a little limited. Tuck, what do you think about the Patriots running backs this week against the Niners defense? Is there anyone you like?
James White, that's the only one I really want to be starting moving forward. You saw that Cam really wanted to run the ball last week, I think, and that's all I need to see. You know, if he's gonna be the guy running, Damian Harris isn't the guy I want to. I wouldn't say he's droppable. Hold on to him for one more week, and if he has another week like last week, then he's probably droppable. But James White's the only guy I really want out of the backfield. I don't want any of their receivers. And we'll see if I want Cam based on this week.
Yeah, I like Cam this week. Like, I think he's an okay play. I mean, I actually think Cam's a solid play this week. Like, I just think he has enough of a floor and upside combination with that rushing. Like, they're just unleashing him in the running game, which I do like to see. And a little bit of recency bias makes people down on Cam. So I like Cam this week, but that's about it. Like I really don't see myself starting anyone outside of Cam Newton and James White. What about you?
No, I agree 100%. Hopefully he bounces back. I mean, he was throwing to no one last week. He was getting, to be fair, he got some hard hits in the backfield too. So his O-line needs to do a little bit better. Hopefully he bounces back though against the 49ers. And then on the 49ers side of the ball, you do have a little bit of a running back question mark. I think it'll majority probably be McKinnon this week, but keep an eye on JaMychal Hasty while Mostert's out. There's a chance he can come in and kind of take a job here. So.
Yeah, I wanted to touch on Hasty for a second because I was interested that he was getting talked up so much on waiver shows, and I actually picked him up for a second myself, just kind of to beat people to it once I saw he made it through waivers. But the more I did research, the more I'm not that into him, and here's why. I think one of Tevin Coleman or Jeff Wilson will be back this week. Like, one of them has to be, in my opinion, one of them will play. I think Wilson actually almost played last week and didn't.
Yeah, I think Jeff Wilson is probably going to play this week, yeah.
So even if at the very least Jeff Wilson plays, then outside of the passing role that's going to be heavily McKinnon, you have a guy splitting first and second down work with Jeff Wilson. Not that much of an appealing role. But second, which is honestly the bigger thing, is people I think are looking into his carries too much at the end of last game. McKinnon was getting nothing going, and I think this was more of like a, hey, McKinnon, you're not being effective. We're just going to give this other guy a chance to get something going for us, not an indication of the roles going forward. We know how much Shanahan loves Jerick McKinnon. We saw how much of that role Jerick McKinnon took up when Mostert was hurt and Coleman went down. Like, I think Jerick McKinnon's the guy when those other guys are injured. I think Hasty, if Coleman and Wilson are both out, which I don't expect to be the case, is a decent play, but I think at the most he'll get first and second down work with McKinnon being the guy. So I'm not super excited about Hasty this week, and just wanted to talk a little bit about why. Do you see those reasons, or are you all in on Hasty as like a guy moving forward?
Definitely not a guy. I think for the most part, what I see happening, and it's hard to read coach speak here, but Shanahan likes him, but he also likes his other running backs. So I think it's going to be, it seems to me that it's going to be Hasty on first and second down, McKinnon on third downs, and Jeff Wilson's probably going to vulture everything on the goal line. That's what he does. So really what you're hoping for with Hasty, I think, would be just a breakout run on first or second down. Otherwise, you're kind of just hoping for yards, because I don't think he's going to get that touchdown that you want. I don't think he's going to get the receptions. But I think definitely worthy of a bench stash this week just to kind of feel it out. Because, if he does take over a role there, it's a big deal. But
yeah, and I think yards are going to be hard to rely on this week against the Pats defense, giving up nothing to the running back. They've been the fourth toughest against running backs. So, I'm out on Hasty this week, but I get why people maybe want to have him just in case. But I see him as a potential plug and play for this week, and that's it. So That's how I feel.
Yep.
Who are you taking in this game, by the way? Oh, by the way,
Um,
I mean you're starting Kittle,
Yep.
obviously, but I think the Pats are going to shut him down. They take the best player out of the equation, so not expecting a big game for Kittle.
So look at Debo, right? I mean,
Yeah, what do you think about Debo? You think you can start him this week?
so I think I think he's startable. Yeah. If they take out the best player, which is Kittle, undoubtedly Kittle, and they will do that. I think Kittle might not have a good game because the Patriots are going to take him out of the picture. I think Debo will be the guy soaking up targets. So I like Debo.
Okay, yeah, and Patriots are giving up fantasy points to wide receivers, so I don't hate the Debo play. I think this one in what should be somewhat low scoring game. I'm not expecting a big game from Debo, but I think you can play him and feel okay about it.
Yeah, I am going to take the Pats here, though.
Yeah,
it's gonna be close. It's gonna be very close, I think. Low scoring, very close.
Yeah, I'm gonna take the Pats here too.
Yep.
Okay, we have 3 games left. Let's go ahead and move on to Jags Chargers. Chargers favored by 7.5 in this one, over under 49 points. On the Chargers side of the ball, how excited are you to watch Justin Herbert in this game? On a scale of 1 to 10. On a scale of 1 to watching Andy Dalton play, how excited are you?
I'm pretty excited. 1 to Andy Dalton, probably around the, I don't know, like
the Matt Ryan range.
Yeah, about Matt Ryan. Sure, that's right. That's accurate. I'm excited to see him hit some guys for sure. But I think he'll have a very good game against the Jags. I think he'll show his stuff. Have a pretty high scoring game. I like Herbert a lot. And I think you probably play Keenan Allen, back spasms aside. Not Mike Williams. A lot of people are high on Mike Williams. I don't think you start Mike Williams here. I don't really think he was even a great pickup this week. I just don't see it with him. But Justin Jackson, Keenan Allen, Justin Herbert. Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe even Hunter Henry. Maybe even Hunter Henry.
Definitely start Hunter Henry. Joshua Kelly, can you start him?
I don't think so. I would not. I would not.
You looked genuinely disgusted by that proposal.
Sorry, it's because I had Jackson and Joshua Kelly, and I was like, you know what? I think I can drop Joshua Kelly. I feel very safe dropping him. I think Justin Jackson's the guy as long as he's healthy. And the moment he's not, I think Josh Kelly takes over. But
okay, well, Jackson limited in practice, so worth noting. Okay, I completely agree with everything you said. I think definitely start Hunter Henry. On the Jaguar side of the ball, the Chargers are giving up a lot of points to the quarterback, so I think you can start Gardner Minshew if you need a streaming option. They're giving up the 3rd most fantasy points to quarterbacks. Aside from that, I mean, you can start DJ Chark, of course. I mean, this game has a decent over-under, so I think the Jaguars could be playing catch-up. Do you like DJ Chark this week? I personally think you should start him.
Yeah, I think you should start him. I mean, he's still getting peppered with targets. I think he'll be a little bit more healthy this week, especially with the afternoon game. He gets a little extra time to rest, just a couple hours, but everything.
He can sleep in.
All the time matters. But no, I like Chark. I think I like Keelan Cole again. I was talking about him last week.
You love your ideal offense would be the following players: Andy Dalton at quarterback, Giovanni Bernard at running back, and Keelan Cole leading the way at wide receiver. Like, that's your dream offense.
Did you see Gio Bernard's mustache, by the way? Very handsome. Yeah. Listen, I'd take that. Why not? And give me Claypool as well. Thanks.
Yeah, I forgot about Claypool. How to do that?
No, but I think Keelan Cole has been consistent, and he, I think he'll continue to do that. I think he's a fine flex play this week, but Chark, I think you do start for sure, just for sheer volume purposes. I think he'll be a little bit better than he was last week for sure. I don't think he caught very many of his targets, but this week he will for sure. I like, bounce backs happen, and this will be one for him. James Robinson, I think you start as well, and that's where I stand on that game.
Oh, it's interesting because you left an important name out of there on the Jaguars side of the ball.
Did I?
You did.
Is it actually an important player?
Laviska Shenault.
Oh, okay. So,
okay, quick pop quiz for you. How many targets do you think Shenault got last week?
Probably 7 is my guess.
He got exactly 7. So,
Hey.
and he did underperform with 3 catches for 10 yards, but he still got 7 targets. So I don't know. I like him. He played 73% of snaps last week, which was a career best. So I like him in this matchup. I think it's not a great matchup. Chargers are giving 21st most fantasy points to wide receivers, so they're pretty tough against the wide receiver. But a game with a decent over under, where the Jaguars are going to be playing catch up.
Yep.
Jaguars are going to be playing catch up.
Always.
I like Shenault to get maybe 7 or 8 targets again, and I think he can turn that into 5 catches for something like 60 yards and maybe a touchdown. So I think he's like a flex option.
Yeah, perhaps.
And I like him better than Keelan Cole. Just by the way, I want that to be on record.
Keelan Cole going to be on record saying the opposite of that one, but
man, I've got beef with you for this because Keelan Cole, I get it, he's putting up the numbers, but he had 6 catches for 143 yards last week, which is huge. I just don't see him doing anything like that again. The week before that, 2 for 25. Week before that, 4 for 46, 4 for 43.
All right, so we're clearly going to need a debate episode where we just debate between players, and we will do that in the future. For now, who are you taking? Chargers or the Jags?
For now, I'm taking the Chargers.
Probably same for the Chargers. Although I hope the Jags win because apparently there's talk about Minshew getting benched. So I hope the Jags win for Minshew's sake. All right, Sunday Night Football. What's that?
Who's their backup?
Dude, I don't know. That's what I'm saying. Why would you bet?
What else? I
don't know. He's doing all he can with a terrible team of undrafted wide receivers. I mean, I don't understand. I don't get it. Okay, Sunday Night Football. Bucks at the Raiders. Over under 53 points. What you got on this one, Steven?
I'm taking on the Buccaneers side of the ball. I think Rojo and Fournette are going to be splitting work, so not particularly excited about either one, but it is a good matchup on the ground. Raiders giving up the 3rd most fantasy points to running backs. You can get away with starting both. Just don't expect big games from either one. Additionally, Gronk had somewhat of a breakout game last week. I think they'll actually continue to involve him now. I don't think he's in the super exciting play, but I think he's in that high-end tight end 2 area. And, Godwin and Mike Evans, you're going to start them. This game has a pretty solid over-under. So I like the Buccaneers players in this game, but there's not one in particular that jumps out to me as a screaming play. What about you?
About the same, yeah. You got to play Godwins and Evans. You can't really sit them unless you're in a 8-man league or something. But otherwise, you're starting both of them. Probably Gronk. Yeah, I like Gronk a lot. I think they're going to start involving him, especially with OJ Howard and Dunzo. And then Ronald Jones. I know you are out on Ronald Jones with Fournette coming back. I still like him. I think he's earned a job. I think he's going to do a fine job. So until he messes up, you start him.
Yep, fair enough. We'll agree to disagree there. Moving on to the Raiders side of the ball. The only guy I'm super excited to start here, obviously you can start Josh Jacobs, but tougher matchup with the Buccaneers defense here. But I do like Darren Waller a lot in this game. I think if there's going to be a lot of passing going on, I think Waller's going to see a lot of action, and we've seen that he is a heavily preferred target of Derek Carr. So Waller's the guy who jumps off the paper for me on the Raiders offense. Is there anyone that you like? How do you feel about Waller? What do you think?
It's Waller and Jacobs. I think outside of that, you don't really. It's a very good defense, so I don't expect anyone else to do much. Josh Jacobs could get a little stuffed, but I think he'll still get the carries to do the work.
Okay, I'll take the Raiders in this one. After beating the Chiefs, healthy off a bye, I'll take the Raiders. Give me that momentum pick.
I think I still take the Bucks. I think their defense is looking really good right now. So,
fair enough. Okay, and then Monday Night Football, Bears at Rams, an absolute snoozer of a game. Rams are favored by 5.5, over/under of a lousy 45.5 points. On the Bears side of the ball, is there anybody that you're excited to start in this matchup?
Allen Robinson. That's it.
Fair.
But apparently he was traded to the Panthers recently, so no, that's a joke.
Someone just tuned into this podcast.
They're like, what? No, Allen Robinson's still a Bear. But he's the only one I want to start, I think. I don't even think Montgomery I really want to start this week. So
And I'm fine starting Jimmy Graham. He had 8 targets last week, which is a lot for a tight end. So I like starting Jimmy Graham against a middle of the pack Rams defense against tight ends. Kittle just had a big week against them. So yeah. And then on the Rams side of the ball, you never really know what's happening at running back there. So I don't love any of them, but you can get away with starting Darrell Henderson. Just know he might get like 7 carries. Like you just never know on the Rams side. So not excited about any of the running backs there. Not excited about Tyler Higbee. Woods and Kupp, you're going to start. But yeah, I think that Woods and Kupp are really the only guys I want to start on this offense.
Yeah, I don't even know if I want to start Kupp. Woods has been consistent enough, but I think Woods and Henderson would be the guys I actually want to start this week. The rest of them, they need time to, I don't know, really figure out what's going to be going on, who's going to be the guy, that kind of thing. So
yeah, that's fair. Tough matchup with the Bears at wide receiver. They're pretty good against the wide receiver. So I agree with you there, and I'm taking the Rams in this one. I don't think the Bears are actually good, despite what their record says.
Right. I'll take the Rams too. I don't think the Bears are good. I don't know how they're winning, and I think that goes for most people. How do they keep winning?
Yeah, it makes you wonder what they would look like with Andy Dalton at quarterback, right?
Right. I know, right, man? Game changer.
Real quick, let's run down our DFS preview. Last week I kicked your butt, right, in our DFS showdown.
Yeah, Derrick Henry and Justin Jefferson. It went very well for you. Yeah, this week is gonna be different. Give me your lineup for this week, Steve.
Let's do position by position, each say our play, and one sentence on why you're playing him. So my quarterback is Kyler Murray. He's in a fantastic matchup against Seattle. He's hot off a amazing week performance, and I think he's still pretty underpriced in DFS for what he can give you. So yeah, I like Kyler Murray.
Yeah, my quarterback is also Kyler Murray, playing against Seattle. It's such a good matchup, so I like him a lot.
Cool. Running back, my main guy is Aaron Jones. Is he yours too?
100%.
Okay, well, we can agree. I explained Kyler. Why don't you explain why we're playing Aaron Jones?
Again, just a really good matchup. That's pretty much it. Aaron Jones is looking real good. I think they'll give the ball to him a lot and run it down their throat. So
yeah, I think he could have a lot of catches in this one with such a high-scoring potential game. So yeah, love Aaron Jones. My running back 2 is actually going to be James freaking Conner. Let's go.
All right.
Against the Titans in what it could be a low-key, high-scoring game. They've got they have a bottom 10 run defense against opposing fantasy running backs. So in a high-scoring game, James Conner's been doing solid. I think he's underpriced in DFS this week. Who's your RB2?
I do think he's underpriced. I'm starting him in a different one, not this one, but a different one. That's a good pick. Boston Scott is my second one. He is just incredibly cheap in DFS right now, and I think it's a great upside play actually. So definitely going Boston Scott here.
Okay. My wide receiver 1, I want every piece of this game I can get, is Davante Adams. I think he's going to be peppered with targets in a shootout and a really great matchup against the Texans. What about you?
DeAndre Hopkins for the same reason. I think Seattle, Arizona is going to be a shootout as well, and I just took the other great receiver. So
yeah, I was between them too, but I knew I could still get a piece of that Cardinals offense with Christian Kirk, which brings me to my next receiver. Took him because I want every piece of that game I can get. That Cardinals offense. Christian Kirk is dirt cheap, upside flyer play. He could easily hit for a deep touchdown, so I wanted him. What about you?
Yeah, my wide receiver 2 is Chase Claypool. Shocker, right? I just think against the Titans, they're deep threats. The deep threats have been killing them, and that's going to be Claypool this week. So I like him as an upside play.
Yep, and my last receiver play is going to be A.J. Brown. Like I mentioned, love his matchup this week against the Steelers. I think that could be a game where the Titans are going to have to pass the ball a lot, and he's looked great so far. What about you?
My third is Travis Fulgham. After 2 weeks with 10+ targets, I think he might get more maybe because everyone's out. Everyone's out for the Eagles, and I think he'll produce against the Giants' bad defense. So.
Okay, well you've gotten cheap at 2 positions now, so your tight end and flex must just be cash. Who's your tight end?
Sure. Not really. Rob Gronkowski is my tight end. I think they'll keep him involved, and he'll have a good game.
Okay, I like it. My tight end is Austin Hooper. I think, like we mentioned earlier, I think it's a good matchup against Cincinnati, where the Browns are going to have to throw the ball more than normal, and he's been very involved in their offense.
Nice. I went Kareem Hunt with the flex.
Okay, I knew it was coming.
I guess that's the kicker, yeah.
Yeah.
But he's still, I think he's underpriced for this game. Against the Bengals. Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt both had good games against the Bengals last time they played. I think it's gonna be all Kareem Hunt this time, and I think he's gonna have a really, really good game against a bad defense.
I agree with you. Once you said Gronk, I was like, all right, well, where's the catch? Because I know you have a lot of money left, and I know it's coming to hit me soon. There it is. Kareem Hunt, great play. I agree. He's underpriced this week. Yeah, my flex, as I mentioned earlier, is going to be DeAndre Swift. I think he's a great upside play, very cheap upside play. And again, it's going to be a lot of points where he's going to be catching a lot of passes. So, yeah, I love DeAndre Swift this week. And,
nice. And then,
the only defense I had money left for was the Jets. So
you're gonna get negative points for that.
Yeah.
I went with the Chiefs against Denver. I just think they're gonna roll over them. So
okay, respect. Well, I'm excited for this one. Let's see if I can go 2-0 against you. I'm pumped for this one. And yeah, any closing comments before week 7?
No, just real excited for this week. Let's go.
Me too. All right. Well, thank you guys for tuning in. Nate the Great, I think you tuned out before we answered your question. My apologies. And yeah, this was fun, Tuck. Thanks for chopping it up with me.
Sounds good, man. Talk to you next time.
All right. We'll see you for the week 7 recap.
All right. Peace.